In the early 1960s, Prospect High School was booming. Just 3 years after opening its doors, the population was over 2,000 students. Prospect was founded in 1957 and was the second school in the district to be opened. In April of 1961, America took its first space flight, sending excitement throughout Prospect and the nation as a whole.
There might be other life out there, because everybody was fun. Like there was UFO situations, we're all worried, wow, this is pretty cool. Maybe there are some other cultures and civilizations out there.
While the nation was making history, Prospect students were also creating memories that would last a lifetime.
Probably going to the fall dance in our senior year when the Beatles came on board and we all sat here and danced for 5 hours to the Beatles songs and to other songs. We just had a great time. We had about 400 people at the winter concert. And the Beatles had just come to the States about a month earlier, and everybody was crazy. All the girls were crazy about the Beatles. And we all just kind of pitched in and had a grand time with the Beatles.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart. Then you can start to make it better. Hey Jude, don't be afraid.
While the Beatles' fan base was increasing every week, the United States suffered a tragic loss. President John F. Kennedy was visiting Dallas, Texas, where he was shot and sadly passed away. Many remember that day vividly.
Our senior year of high school in November of '63, we were all here. We were all talking about that. I was in seventh period class, and the principal announced that the president had been shot, and most of the kids were led into the field house. The field house was brand new; it had only been there like about 1 year. Most of us were led in the field house, and then about a half hour later, they announced that President Kennedy had died. And we sat there and we cried, and we were shocked because.
Throughout the early 60s, the civil rights movement was still affected in the United States. It was still playing a huge role in everyday lives, however, did not affect Prospect High School as much. Alumni remember racism and segregation not being an issue as Prospect. Many students contributed to raise awareness.
Our entire class was Caucasians, all whites. We had no black people in our class. We had no Asian people in our class. We only had a few Hispanic people in our class. So it was not quite the diversified group of people you have today. So a lot of us got involved with the civil rights movement back in the '60s, and I've personally worked as a youth leader today for junior high boys at a big church around here because I want to give back to kids to show them that they got a lot going for them and they have a chance to do a lot of good things in life. But they just got to understand that they've got to realize that we're all brothers, and we're all, no matter what race we are, or what culture we are, or what ethnic group we are, we're all equal, we're all brothers, and we have to work together to make a better country and a better world.
In late 1963, excitement was at its all-time high because the Chicago Bears had won the NFL championship.
January, we were NFL football champions, so that was a big deal. There was no Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl didn't start until 1967 or '66, but they were the NFL champions, and that was a really exciting time.
Another exciting time was in 1962 when Rancher's Mall opened in Mount Prospect. At the time of its opening, it was the first enclosed mall in the Chicago area and the largest enclosed air-conditioned space in the United States. It also had a bomb shelter underneath large enough to fit the entire Mount Prospect population in case of nuclear war.
Because the people who servers were not as respected as they are today. In those days, there was a lot of conflict going on in the country, and even though most of us really didn't want to go to Vietnam, but we were kind of forced to, especially if we were in the Army or the Marines, we didn't get the respect that we did today. It was a very sad time. There was a lot of conflict in the country, and it really tore our country apart for probably 10 years, because the war started in '65 and didn't finish until '73. So it went on for a long, long time. Everybody was affected because, as opposed to today where it's a volunteer army, in those days everybody was drafted into the service. So you literally had to go. There was no choice. You either had to go or go to jail. And people went and they served.
In September of 1963, a Baptist church ran by African Americans was bombed. This was an act of racist terrorism and killed 4 young girls. This was a turning point in the civil rights movement. In October of 1962, America, the Soviet Union, and Cuba were involved in a 13-day confrontation. This was the closest that the Cold War ever came to becoming nuclear. President John F. Kennedy ordered a blockade to help protect the citizens. In result, Kennedy made an agreement with the Soviet Union to be sent back home. In exchange, Kennedy had to make a public declaration that the United States would never invade Cuba. In August of 1963, the March on Washington occurred. This was one of the largest political rallies for human rights in history. It took place in Washington, D.C., and thousands of Americans attended. This is where Martin Luther King delivered his historic I Have a Dream speech. A lot of preparation went into this big ordeal. 5,900 police officers, 2,000 National Guard men, and nearly 3,000 soldiers from all over the country were flown in. This was a huge turning point in American history.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Students and staff from this time period helped shape Prospect to be successful as it is today. The traditions and memories that were created will last forever.
Yesterday, suddenly